What's going on, Mongs? It's me, Semi-Mong, and today we're back on Crowfall, and I want to discuss disciplines in 5.8 and a couple of changes that has come to the discipline system. Now, before we get into the discipline system and the discussion, I would just like to say that I have been on nearly every day this week trying to get myself set up. I believe the servers actually reset yesterday again, and unfortunately, please don't say it's stuck. My W key's in a couple of minutes, but let's go through what disciplines are for new players or potentially anyone that's looking into Crowfall, because I believe disciplines are really a game-defining feature, like honestly, and there is two major changes that have come within the 5.8 update that really set in stone disciplines roles within Crowfall. Now, disciplines are runes that you can get that will give you skills, passive skills, and statistics. Now, there are two sort of defining ways that disciplines have a role within your game. The first one is the three major categories. That is combat, crafting, and harvesting. And this actually ties into your skill tree. As you can see on your skill tree, you can pick what skills you want to either learn to craft, either get ahead in combat with a few more combat statistics, or you can learn to harvest better with damage to nodes and whatnot through the exploration skill tree. And that is the first sort of major definition of disciplines. Are you going to go the combat route? Are you going to go the crafting route? Are you going to go the harvesting route? But the more sort of a defining way that I look at disciplines is the combat disciplines. Because when you first go into Crowfall, you log in and create your character. You've got to select a class, whether you're a duelist like me, a Templar, a Knight, a Cleric. You know, there's so many different options. But then with that class, there's so many different play styles through these disciplines, especially on the combat ones that give you skills and statistic increases, that there's so many different ways to play one class, and that is through the discipline system. And I think that's what attracts so many people, is that there's loads of different classes, but there's loads of different play styles to also play these classes. For an example, as my little Gwynisian duelist, you can see I've got my pistol and my sword. I could equip disciplines that focus on a bleed effect with the sword, or I could switch it up and use two pistols and get disciplines that focus on stuns and roots and stuff like that, or slow abilities. There's so many different playstyles for each class, and that comes through the discipline system. Now, this is just going to be a quick video showcasing what two changes have happened to the disciplines within patch 5.8. But be sure to subscribe or check back to the channel in the future, because I've got plenty of ideas that I want to do, testing out different builds with different classes and of course the different discipline setups. Mainly the combat ones. The crafting and the harvesting disciplines are pretty much self-explanatory. It's the experimentation and just the different ways that you can play will come from the combat disciplines up here, with the major and of course the minor ones as well. Although minor disciplines tend to give you more passive skills or statistic increases rather than active skills that can change up your playstyle. Now, the first change within 5.8 to the discipline system affects the first defining role that I was talking about, the combat, the harvesting, or the crafting. As you can see, as I went through earlier, you've got the three different trees here for combat, crafting, or exploration. When you first log into the game, you've got to have a long, hard think to yourself. A, what do you want to play as? What is your playstyle? Do you want to be a harvester? Do you want to go out and harvest resources? Would you like to be a crafter? Or would you like to have the edge in combat? Of course, you can learn two of these at the same time. For me, personally, I like to be a crafter, go out and also couple it with the exploration tree so I can harvest resources and just craft for all the other PvPers, although my current skill training is lackluster. It really, really is lackluster. Before 5.8, there was no crafting disciplines. It was just the harvesting and the combat ones. So with 5.8, sort of sets out that defining three-part role. Are you going to be the crafter, the harvester, or the combat person, not only within the skill tree, but within the disciplines as well? So if I click back on my skill tree, what the crafting disciplines do is that you may have the skill training like I do here in rune making to craft rune tools, but you also have to have the crafting discipline equipped to be able to get these recipes to appear at a rune tool station, a rune maker. And as I said, what this does is really define your role as either a harvester, a crafter, or a combat person. So as beforehand, I could have a mining discipline which would help me go out and harvest resources quicker, but then I could just go to any fort or any keep and craft up like rune tools or armor without the use of a discipline, because you could just go to the tool stations, and as long as you had the training and the skill training, you could craft what you want. But now it focuses on the sort of the harvesting, crafter, or combat trees. Like, you're going to have the crafting discipline to go with what you want to craft. So I'm no longer just going to be a harvester with a few combat advantages. I have to have the runemaker tool, or the blacksmithing discipline, or the blacksmithing discipline to just be able to craft what I want. Now, it's not the biggest change, and to be honest, there's not too much fuss around it. But I just like how it sets in stone, are you going to be a combat person, a craft? Of course, there is 2 major disciplines here, so I could just switch it up. But in the future, they have changes to how to craft these. It's not just going to be a dust or an ore. And I'll talk about that in just a second. The second major change that they've done to disciplines is making them locked behind character progression. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. So pre 5.8, all disciplines were unlocked. The second you could get into the world, you could just craft whatever disciplines you wanted and equip them. Now, not only did this allow for players to test out character builds insanely quickly, you could just log on to different classes and test out different disciplines. It also meant that the second you're in a game, you've got the advantage. Now they've tied it behind the character level and the talent progression system, so you can only unlock them once your character levels up. I'm level 8, as you can see, and I've currently got 1 minor and 1 major discipline. But I'm not going to get my next major discipline until I'm level 31. Or if I go through the skill tree and down this line here, I could potentially get to this major discipline slot before level 31. I'm unsure. But as you can see there, that requires me to get there rather than having to reach level 31 down here, which is a actual prerequisite, a requirement. Now the next minor ones are along the way. Now they are a little bit further away, but you can see here that it puts more self-worth into A, your character, and B, what disciplines you select. So no longer can I log on and just equip a minor discipline with something else. I have to actually choose what I want to do. Do I want to go out and mine? So when I'm mining, I'm going to have to unequip my runemaker discipline. I'm going to have to destroy it and replace it with a mining discipline, because I've no longer got the option to have both at the same time. So it really puts a lot of self-worth into your character progression. You're going to be a lot more tied to that character, and you're going to want to play that character to unlock all of the discipline slots to be at your max potential, the best that you can be. It's currently not implemented in the game. If I whip up the crafting menu and go down to the disciplines, at the moment you can see that they only cost 1 dust and 1 ore to create. It does say pre-alpha discipline test recipes there. Now in the future, I've heard that they've had plans to tie these to something called fraus, where each campaign world will have different fraus, and these will be required to actually create the disciplines. Now some worlds will be lackluster on certain types of fraus, and some worlds will just be plentiful with them. So there's going to be different campaign worlds that you see with different disciplines coming into the spotlight. But tying this back into the character progression system, as I said beforehand, you could just test whatever disciplines you wanted to do. But now they're fleshing out the game more, making it so you have to level up your character and progress with that character to unlock the discipline slots. And then when in the future they make the disciplines more scarce and harder to craft, it's once again really going to set in stone, do you want to be a harvester, a crafter, or a combat person? Because not only will you have to unlock them through the progression system, the talent system, you'll have to go out and earn them and actually be able to get the materials to craft it. Now I don't know how hard these materials are going to be to obtain, or whether they're going to tie it into the frau system. If you'd like to learn more about the frau system, be sure to check out the Crowfall website. But once it's implemented, I shall do a video on it. But yeah, it's just, disciplines are going to be such a defining role, and with the patch 5.8, oh, my key's stuck again. No! As I was saying, disciplines are going to be such a defining role, and with patch 5.8, adding in the crafting discipline category, so we've got harvesting, crafting, and combat, just like the skill tree, and adding in disciplines being locked via character progression, we're really heading into the direction of you have to pick what you want to be, and then go out and be that person. Be a crafter, be a combat person, or be a harvester. Guys, that is the discipline system in patch 5.8. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like down below. Get involved in the comment section. Have you got Crowfall? Have you got any disciplines, combinations, or builds that I can test out for different classes? What do you think? Does this attract you to the game if you haven't got Crowfall? Be sure to let me know. Be sure to check out my game on Amazon store in the description as well. And thank you for all of the support, and I shall see you in the next video.